Hello, everybody. Dennis Young here. Another special guest today from New York City, Mikel Paris. He's a
Hey,
musician, composer, plays this unique guitar drumming record. So, Michael, thanks for coming on.
hey, so happy to be here. I love talking about my creations with people. So this is
That
gonna be
would be
fun.
great.
Yeah.
So, where'd your creation start? In New York, or where'd you start playing in bands?
Well, I mean, if we're talking just music in general, yeah, it was Connecticut. I grew up
Oh,
in
okay.
Connecticut. It was the mom had the piano. I saw her playing as a 4-year-old, and she just kind of noticed and was like, "You want to take lessons?" And
Right.
that was sort of the beginning of the musical journey for me, and it continues onwards. But then it was, it was choir, it was music theater in high school, all those
Right.
things, all the creative things that were focused on performing and music and being in front of people and entertaining. That's
That's what's
always been
nice.
something that has been part of my DNA, I guess, since the womb, perhaps.
So what have you started playing mostly guitar or I see you
No, it was
playing a number of
piano. It was
instruments.
it
Oh,
was piano.
piano.
It was piano, and then it was
Okay.
figuring out how to play and sing at the same time.
Right.
Inspired by those early songbooks I had on the piano, that my mom had, Neil Diamond, Barry Manilow, great songwriters, and then figuring out as I really started listening to Billy Joel and Elton John, getting those songbooks, and then once you figure out the mechanics of playing any instrument, right, and
Hmm.
singing at the same time,
Right.
it sort of opens up all the other avenues. Just like
That's
if you
true.
if you learn a second language, they say the third is easier and the fourth
Hmm.
is easier once your brain sort of is wired in that way. So, I played clarinet. I've always been
Oh,
percussive, always singing in choirs. So it's just been a defining character of who I am, just
that's great.
since that 4-year-old moment, realizing that there's nothing like sitting behind a real piano for me.
That's not easy to play and sing at the same time. That's not a lot of people can do that.
That's correct. It's just you have to figure it out.
Right.
There's still times with O.A.R. where it's a new song we're working on and there's some backing vocals or something that I have to sing and play a certain part at the same time that's maybe rhythmic or very specific. And you got to do your due diligence. You got to practice. Sometimes
Right.
the mechanics of, okay, where does that vocal note fit in with what I'm playing on the piano, and you got to figure it out,
Hmm.
so that it becomes second nature, so that you're not thinking about it so much.
So how did you get into O.A.R.? How did that happen?
Well, that's an interesting story. I mean, it starts back to my stomping days when I was off Broadway performing in the show and met so many amazing, talented people from that show. And one of them was a
Right.
gentleman named Dan Finnerty. And Dan
Okay.
has a project called the Dan Band. The Dan Band
Hmm.
is this incredible creation of music and comedy and sort of slapstick. And he was in a bunch of movies, including Old School,
Okay.
where he's the wedding singer and he starts like swearing during the wedding as he's singing Total Eclipse of the Heart. I don't know if you remember that scene.
Oh
So
yeah.
so Dan, he I was nearing the end of my stomp days. My
Okay.
physically that show is exhausting and it's incredible. I traveled all over the world with that show and I love it. And so I met Dan through Stomp. Dan left, started the Dan Band. 2005, he hits me up and he's like, "You want to do a House of Blues tour with the Dan Band, play keyboards?" And I was like, "That would be great
Ah,
because I can't do the show anymore.
right.
My back and my body feels like it's on fire." Um, I still don't understand how there was some stomp performers that were doing that show for like 20 plus years. There some people are just,
That's
I
something.
guess, magicians with their body, but for me it was really hurting. So I went and played with Dan and it was awesome. And we did House of Blues all around the tour, all around the country, 2005. And I laughed more than I've ever laughed on a tour
Hmm.
before. It was so great. So the front of house manager, the tour manager and the front of house mix engineer, after that tour was over in September of
Yeah.
2005, he texts me one day and he's like, "I'm hanging out with some crew from this band O.A.R. and they're looking for like a steady keyboardist.
Hmm.
They had friends sit in with them. They had, people that would open up for O.A.R. back in the day, and there was maybe a keyboardist, and they're like, "Hey, you want to come sit in with us?"
Hmm.
But they never had a regular, steady person that was really focused on the parts, right? And consistency. So he's like, "Can I forward them your information?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then Jerry DePizzo, the sax player of O.A.R., calls me up a little while after that, and he's like, "Hey, it's Jerry," and we talked on the phone, and he's like, "I'm going to send you some music to listen to,
Hmm.
and Mark and Benj and you are going to get together in the city at some point and just meet and play through some stuff." And so he sent me like 8 CDs. I'm like, "What is all this music? Where are all these
Wow,
songs?
that's a
There's
lot.
hundreds of songs here. How have I not really heard of this band before?" It was so interesting. And then I
Hmm.
started listening to the music and going, "Okay, this is I'm really enjoying playing keyboards on this. It's very
Hmm.
satisfying to play keyboard." So I learned a bunch of songs and met up with Mark and Benj in the city. We spoke for a while. Mark loved my stomp background, my percussive background,
Hmm.
singing backing vocals. I was kind of filling. I was, you
Filling
know,
the gap, right?
I was crossing all the checks off on the list as
Hmm.
far as kind of what they were hoping to find, I think, for the band. And so 20 years later, I'm still here. Here I am.
That's something.
And
Well,
it's the most incredible thing, Dennis, because I get to play my stage rig with O.A.R. is like it's like my dream place.
hmm.
It's like a place I dreamt of. Multiple keyboards, djembe, timbales, percussion, congas, microphone. So there's I'm doing all the things I love to do. I'm not stomping, but I'm doing all the other things I love to do as far as a performer, all encapsulated in
That's
to this
something.
this 8x8 riser. It's my happy place.
Now, are you going to be playing any more shows with the AO this year with the band? Is that
Oh yeah,
going to be
yep.
happening? Oh, that's
All,
great.
all, all the shows this year. Um, I'm pretty much there for all the shows when it's band shows. Sometimes the band will do broken down things. Maybe it'll be Mark and Richie for something, or sometimes Mark and I will play shows where I get like
Hmm.
city winery stuff where I get to play an acoustic grand piano, and
Oh,
which
okay.
is awesome and incredible. So, but for the most part, yeah, I'm there and recording on albums and part of the creative process, and it's incredible. I'm looking forward to another 20 years with with the guys. It's amazing.
So let's talk about this YouTube show that you have, this TuneTrek and music
Yeah.
show. That's really cool.
Thank
I
you for
saw some
checking
of
that
that.
out.
I did.
Yeah.
It was really good.
It's a it's a passion project. I had some episodes air on some PBS stations,
Oh, okay.
but it really started as a way back in 2012. I've been on tour with the band for 7 years, and I just started realizing that I was touring all over the world, and I wasn't really exploring as much as I like, as is in my nature. I'm
Hmm.
always, as a kid, I was in the woods as soon as my homework was done, like looking for that new tree to climb or a new
Hmm.
trail that I hadn't found. I always loved that sense of adventure and discovering something new and different to me. So it was basically just me having a realization. And I'm like, well, I'm going to all these cool cities and towns that I'm not exploring. So I was
Hmm.
like, how can I combine some of the things I love into a project that's going to force me off the tour bus? It's going to
Right.
force me out of the hotel to go to these places that are lesser known, that are sort of off the beaten path and historical. I wanted to try and focus it as much as possible, right? So I was like, let me try and focus on 100 years or older
Hmm.
and historic buildings that have really interesting stories. And how can I incorporate music? How can I incorporate my love of photography into a project? And I just started experimenting with it in 2012 and making some phone calls. So it's really become, I filmed maybe 69 episodes,
Oh, wow.
and they're not all edited, as you know, by looking at what's out there, because I
Right.
do I do everything. I call the places, I advance the filming days. I'm like a
It's a
Les
lot of
Stroud.
work. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's like I'm setting up all my own camera shots and steady cam stuff, and I write a song for each location based
Okay.
on the story that I kind of get
That's
from,
neat. I know. I see that.
and
That's
it's an
neat.
interesting way to write, Dennis, too, because it's,
Hmm.
the story's there already. As I'm looking and researching the history of this old warehouse or wherever I'm going, it's all in there. So it's sort of like lyrics and ideas just sort of start popping out to me as I'm kind of reading through the history and thinking about the story and what does the place look like. And so it's been a real great project for me to write and create in a different way. And
Yeah.
I just love it. And I think it's sort of a subtle way to educate people a
Yeah.
little bit.
Well, I like the way, like, I just do the podcast. I don't do the music, but I love the way that you incorporate music with this.
Oh yeah.
That really gives it an extra boost to the shows you do.
Thank you. I agree. Yeah, the music is really the driving force
And you meet
behind.
such interesting people, right? Out of
That's the
the
thing too. Is you meet
yeah,
so many people that are passionate about where they are and
right.
preserving America's history because, you look at the rest of the world and historical structures and places and some, thousands of years old, right?
Right.
And in America, as far as our modern American history, preserving places that a couple hundred years old are equally as important. So these people, they're so passionate about saving. And usually
Hmm.
when they are on the phone, it's usually because they're speaking to people about fundraisers
Okay.
or helping keep our living museum alive and grants and then I call and they're like, wait, you want to come here and share
Hmm.
what we are doing here with your audience? And they're just so happy to have a different sort of creative person come in. And there's times where, like, a lot of those places there's like offices like on the second floor of the old house or whatever,
Right.
right? And there's times where
Okay.
people come down and they're like, man, thank you for entertaining us while we're working because we heard your music throughout the whole place and it was beautiful and it made today such a welcome relief from the usual sort of grind of keeping history alive in America. So
Hmm.
it was really fun. I look forward to doing more of those. It's
I hope you do.
very time consuming.
Thing
It's
is, people are so friendly. Once I hate to pick on the Northeast, but once you get out of this area, everybody seems to be so nice and friendly, especially some of the areas of the country.
yes, but it's interesting. Like those people that are the curators of these museums,
Okay.
I've found wherever I go. Interestingly enough, that it takes a certain type of person to dedicate their life to preserving history.
Oh
And
yeah.
and
Great.
everybody I met, regardless of geographically where I was, were very welcoming
Hmm.
and really embraced this project that I was bringing. So it's been really great. It's been really great. And I want to edit all the episodes one of these days, and I'm going to release a Mikel Paris TuneTrek album
Hmm.
potentially next year.
Great.
So it would be, maybe 14 or 15 TuneTrek songs on the album, and then those episodes as companion pieces, the visual. So we'll see. Crossing fingers for that for
Well,
next year.
people find this stuff, so it don't. It's just as long you're on the internet, so and on
Yeah,
YouTube, so
I
if
know. You just
people
put
are,
it out, right? Just put it out.
that's what
Put it
I'm
out.
doing. I'm
I
just
know.
doing this series to put it out.
Content, content, content. It's
Not only
crazy.
that, but I like talking to a lot of creative people, like
As do I.
yourself and everybody. Well, everybody else I've been speaking to. I mean, that's what's been making it so fulfilling.
Yes, I
This whole
agree.
trip here
I
with this
agree. And
channel.
yes, and when you speak to people too about what you're doing, like when you speak to people about primitive substance, and I speak to people about guitar drumming and my music, often I'm discovering things
Hmm.
about how to talk about the things that I do. And so the more I do these types of things, it's really valuable to me. So thank you for having me on.
Oh,
Really,
no
it's great.
problem. I find
Appreciate it.
that too with these interviews that you talk to people about music, but then they have a whole other life of other things that
True.
they do. So that's interesting. So let's talk about this record you did called Guitar Drumming. That is really
Yes.
neat. That is a neat record. So where'd you get the idea for this?
I mean, so guitar drumming was born out of Connecticut. The initial inspiration, my friend Todd and I, our first apartment in Hartford, just out of college, hanging out late one night. He had a bunch of acoustic guitars and those juggling sticks
Okay.
that's wrapped in the electrical tape that they
Okay.
would, there's three sticks, you know what I'm talking about, right? The devil
Oh
stick,
yeah.
devil stick. And so he had a pair of those, and I picked them up, and I just started drumming on the strings with those as he was doing chords, and I was like, man, what a cool percussive,
Yeah.
interesting sound. And then, years went by, and I didn't really think about it until I got into Stomp. And Luke and Steve, amazing, the creators of the show. I'd always been that kid making music and drumming on pots and pans and body rhythms all my life anyway. So they really, number one, validated that that's okay. You should be doing that. You should
Okay.
be hearing rhythm and music all around us. It's everywhere, right? But then they also gave me the confidence to look back to that moment in Hartford and say, wait a second, that was really cool. They didn't talk to me about it, but just
Right.
the nature of Stomp, them being on the streets of Brighton, just the trash cans busking, knowing they had something exciting, knowing that this was going to be a phenomenon, and sticking to it, and that attitude kind of stuck with me, still sticks with me. And so I thought back to that time with the devil sticks and the guitar, and I was like, let me think about that again. So I took out my acoustic guitar, and I was like, I don't want to have a partner to play.
Okay.
I want to be able to do this by myself.
Yeah.
So I started experimenting with tunings, and I broke this wrist in high school. So I tried playing acoustic guitar normally and traditionally.
Right.
I just never got the best guidance of how to do it. This, as a piano player, this is the natural position. It's just,
Right.
flat
Right.
and easy. So let me try playing the guitar like that. I just laid it on my lap, facing up, and started experimenting. And it's been 2+ decades of experimenting and having it not be a gimmick. I didn't want it to be something where I'm on a stage and I'm just up there, like just doing
Right.
crazy stuff, and then you leave and you don't really take any songs with you.
Okay.
Like I was saying earlier, with like, the Neil Diamond and the Barry Manilow songbooks, Elton John, Billy Joel, songwriters,
Right.
storytellers.
Exactly.
So I wanted this guitar drumming texture to be just another way that I write music, another way that I write songs. Either I'm on a piano, I'm sitting there on the guitar coming up with something, or for the most part, I'm just walking around living my life and my environment inspires me. And I've got, just like so many other musicians, thousands of voice memos on my phone of ideas,
Right.
a
Yeah.
bass line, a rhythm, a melody. And it's just now the guitar drumming it's become second nature. Like how we were talking about
Oh.
playing and
Right.
singing at the
Okay.
same time. You do it
Right.
enough, it's second nature. So I'd written all these songs with guitar drumming sort of as the driving sound, the foundation of a lot of these songs. Listen, not to bring it up, but I mean, the pandemic for me was an incredibly prolific, creative, eye-opening time for me as a creative and a musician.
Hmm.
And I was looking at all these hard drives I have with unfinished songs on them, and I said, I got to put this stuff out there.
Right.
We don't know what tomorrow holds. We don't know how long we're going to be
No.
here.
Just get it out.
If
Yep.
I don't get these songs finished and done, I'm doing myself a disservice, because that's one of the reasons I'm here on this planet is to create and put it out there and hopefully affect people in some way with it, right? That's what we want to do as creatives. And so when it came time to doing my next collection of songs, after I released my Snidbits album last year, and Snidbits was an album comprised of all these songs that I developed during my live stream during the pandemic.
Okay.
I was tearing down my walls and allowing myself to be vulnerable in front of an audience. So I realized that, man, some of my favorite songs I've written are with this guitar drumming style, and I haven't
Interesting.
released them.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me make that my next series of releases: Guitar Drumming 1, 2, and hopefully 3, because I realize I've got like 40 or 50 of these songs, and I just decided I'm gonna finish them. And
Now,
so Guitar Drumming 1 is, some of those songs have been with me since my Stomp days. You know,
okay.
it's
Now,
very cathartic. It's like this
I see
weight of
that.
songs just on my shoulders. You know, and it's slowly getting lower, slowly
Get them
getting lower.
out, right? Just
Yeah.
that's the key. Now, do you put these out physically on CD, or is this all? Is it mostly digital?
Yeah, so it's digital, and then I made my first vinyl with Snidbits last year, which
Oh,
was,
okay.
as a kid, you know, that's what having a record meant to me, was an actual vinyl. It was
Right, right.
incredible. So I'm really excited about that.
That's
And
nice.
for guitar drumming, I'm looking at some of these other options, man. I don't like making things that are going to be wasteful. I try to be as eco-conscious as possible. So the idea of like making CDs that you sell at a show, but then how many people have CD players and still aren't actually going to listen to it? They're just buying these things because they want to support the artist. I'd rather it be something you buy that, like vinyl, is
Right.
always been,
It
right? You
is.
can put it on the wall. It's artwork. It's
Exactly.
it's it's a collective thing.
But
And then
what's nice is you're doing shows, so you need some kind of physical
exactly,
product
I
there. You don't
need
want to be,
physical. Yes. So
and so that's
now,
what's
but
good.
but now I'm researching these USB music cards. Have you seen them?
Oh yeah, I've seen those. Yep.
And they're getting very creative now with how they look. And they're like the size of a credit card, and the little USB thing just flips out. There's the album, right? And you have all your branding on top of there, and a lot of them, and you can do this crazy. You can get creative shapes of these USB. So for Guitar Drumming 1, that's the plan. I'm
Okay.
actually going to be doing that in the next couple of days, is getting some of those, and it's easy for me to travel with too. Like a lot of the stuff I'm
Exactly.
doing
Yep.
this year, I'm flying a lot for shows, so flying with 50 vinyl,
That's
you know,
heavy. Yeah,
you
it's
got,
a
it's
lot.
heavy, and then you got breakage maybe and all
Right.
that stuff. So, 50 of these music cards will fit in my backpack,
Now, I
So-
I interviewed somebody who had called it a matchbox. So the USB was inside, and then the information about the record was like an accordion inside the box. He's gonna
Oh,
he's gonna send me one, but I thought it
that's
was a great
cool.
idea. But nice about that, you could also put extra songs on there, like
Yes.
unreleased material you should look at. Your
Or
record
video.
and maybe that, yes, or
I
video.
can put some of my music videos on there. So I'm trying to put that together this week. What exactly is going on there? And then I gotta make some stat, because I got,
Okay.
my solo shows really start next week. I mean, I do two a month as a residency in
Oh,
Beth,
okay.
Bethpage, New York. I do a place called Nostalgia. Man, I was just looking for a place that when I'm home from tour, like Cheers, when you're
Right,
home,
right.
you got a place you can go, and it's the place where you go and hang and you can be creative. And I was just looking for a local venue where I could just go and do my thing.
Now, is this in Brooklyn or
This
Midtown or
is in
where?
Bethpage. It's Nassau County
Oh, I
on
know
Long
that
Island.
area.
Yeah.
I know that area well.
It's a great little like dive bar based on the 90s.
Oh, that's
And
better yet.
so I've been doing like two a month there, and it's good just to keep your chops up and to experiment. And when I have ideas of how do I want to present certain songs, it's a really
Okay.
great so I'm doing, I've been doing those since January, two a month. And then as the record was getting close and I started releasing singles, I'm like, you know what? Let me flesh out the rest of this year with solo shows. And so I got a bunch this month, and then moving forward for the rest of the year. And of course, O.A.R, we've got like 30 or 40 shows this year,
Wow,
and I'm
that's
playing with my
great.
friends. Yeah, but I want to talk about more about the guitar drumming album. So
Go
I'm
ahead.
curious about
Let's
your
hear a bit.
reactions and your favorite tracks or questions you have about Guitar Drumming 1, because I'm so happy with how the album came out.
So, what the process here? Everything basically you do yourself at the studio, all the parts, all the that you
Most of the
figure out.
parts. Most of the
Okay.
parts. So on some parts like Downtime, it was a collab with my friends of Good Nature, who I'm going to see tomorrow. I'm doing some shows with them playing keyboards, and we're going to play Downtime.
Okay.
For that, whenever there's like, if I know I want actual drums or electric guitars, or harmonica, any instrument that I don't really play well. I mean, I can play those guitars those
Right.
instruments a little bit, but then I'll have someone who really knows what they're doing. So, David Hamilton Jr. played drums on Downtime, and Cam Brown of Good Nature played all those electric guitar parts. He played bass on the song too. But then most of the songs, I'm basically, you know, I'm writing, I'm editing, I am comping takes, I'm doing the keyboards, all the vocal parts, guitar, drumming parts, rhythmic parts, stomping. Stomping is still in my musical
Oh, okay.
vocabulary, and you hear it on the songs on guitar drumming. And
Downtown I liked a lot. I mean, I thought it really had a good vibe to it. Yeah, yeah, really nice.
that song has been with me for like over 20 years too. And I wanted Of Good Nature. I was like, guys, please just give me a fresh take on this. For some of these songs that have been with me for so long, that was like with Hit Me. Also, I said to G Love, I was like, listen, man, here's my ideas, but I need your creative input on how to make this song, take it to the A game. Let's just take it to the A game.
Well,
I can.
your music is very accessible to all ages, I
that-
feel.
That's wonderful. Thank you so
That's what I
much.
feel. I mean, some music, people can only listen to experimental music or electronic. It's not their game. But
Yeah,
you seem to be able to focus on a good generations of listeners. That's what I
thank
like
you.
about it.
Yeah, that makes it hard for me in some ways to classify it and
Right.
and to place it into a genre. I've been having this discussion so much, and how to define one's music, what you create and label it. It's almost like not fair that we have to do that,
Yeah. Well,
you
that's
know?
what makes it interesting. Like with David Bowie, you can never categorize his music. You
It's
know,
you
he.
you draw from, again, it's like when you allow yourself to be inspired by everything, all music, the planet, nature,
Yeah,
everything.
be
How do you
yourself.
put a label on that if you're just being yourself? Exactly. So
I think you should just go your full course, and then people will, if it's ahead of the time, they'll catch up to it.
that's
You
what
know.
I'm hoping. I feel like I was ahead of my time with my guitar drumming like 20 years ago.
Yeah, I
you
don't
know,
hear anybody that's done really that with songs like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I hope people listen to it and go, "Huh, that's different," but they
Yep.
don't really understand what I'm doing until they see it. And then
Okay.
they still don't really understand what I'm doing, but at least they see that I'm doing something unique.
Now,
And
what the? Go ahead.
I'm not doing it for the sake of doing something unique. I'm doing it because, as we talked, all the things that have inspired me sent me down that road, of experimentation and exploring a new way to play an existing instrument, really, right? And so it's been really exciting for me, and I'm still adding techniques to it, because
Hmm.
because all the fingers are doing such interesting stuff, and sometimes even the finger on the bottom of the neck is doing rhythmic stuff. It's become this,
That's neat.
yeah, it's really
So,
like
what guitar are you using? What kind of guitar do you use for this?
it's been, man, I'm still searching for the perfect guitar, and I think it's going to have to be a custom at this point,
Okay.
because right now I'm using a Martin and I love it. And I'm using a Rockbridge guitar, which is what Dave Matthews plays, and
Okay.
I love it. It's just it's similar. It's like how people were looking at Stomp and not understanding the effects that Stomp would have on a performer
Okay.
after doing the show, because there had never been a show like it. You
Exactly.
even like ballet dancers and any other type of dancers, they've got this research pretty much, right? And they know preventative stuff you have to do, stretching, yoga, Pilates, whatever it is, right? So that your body is in optimal form based on what your discipline is doing to it. So Stomp was a new discipline, right? And so we were really like the guinea pigs, figuring
That's
out
something.
what does this do to our body, and what do we need to do to be in peak performance. So the guitar drumming, Yeah, it's really interesting because of how I'm playing these guitars, what's happening is I'm like knocking the pickup loose
Oh, okay.
and breaking it. You
Oh,
know,
so you're hitting it that hard, or
because they're not made for that type of
no? That's right. That's true.
impact, especially all the knocking that I'm doing on the wood with my thumbs and stuff.
Oh,
And
okay.
I'll perform live and some, the energy and
I
the adrenaline
understand.
are flowing. And
Right,
so maybe
right.
I'm digging in a little harder. So I've been breaking guitars.
Huh. Okay.
So I'm exploring now this idea of maybe I need to create my own sort of hybrid acoustic guitar. Like Rain Song, where
Right,
it's
right,
made out of carbon fiber.
right,
But you see, like or ovations are hybrid sometimes, where it's the backing is that unbreakable material, but then they still have a wood on the top.
right.
I'm trying to design something that is like a carbon fiber top to the guitar and then wood around the sides and the back, so that a pickup can be really fastened. Because that's the problem
Okay.
with the rock bridge, right? What I understand is that, you know, pickups are generally just sort of glued or double-sided taped because you don't want to screw into the wood of a beautiful, like for the pickup, right?
Right.
You have to be
Exactly.
as sensitive and careful as possible. You don't want to mess up the guitar and the bracing and all that stuff. But because of that and how I play, I keep breaking guitars.
Have you ever
So,
thought about playing like a Chapman stick or a war guitar? Where you're playing like a keyboard. Have you ever thought of trying that?
hmm,
I mean,
I mean,
you,
I've played a guitar, and I am a, I'm a, I'm a big fan of Tony Levin. And because you watch him play, and he's got those crazy things that he's where
yeah,
he's
but
tapping the.
he's playing also like a piano.
He's incredible.
Oh yeah.
I just saw Peter Gabriel at Madison Square Garden 2 years ago.
Oh, how was that show? Good.
Yeah, it was the I.O. tour,
Right, right.
and I'd never seen Peter, and he's a big influence for me. He's like top five
Hmm.
artists for me of all time, and I was just like in tears and had goosebumps the whole
I
time.
imagine.
But getting to
Yeah.
see, really getting to see how they all play, and just watching him on the bass was just like, yeah, he really embraced that as his style, that where he can be sensitive and play it traditionally, and then he can do this incredible percussive attack way that he
Oh
plays
yeah.
it. So, listen, I've always wanted to like sit down and play like the dobro and like, because there are elements of, you see country music artists, the guys that play the slide guitar, when they
Yeah.
when they stand and hold it, the guitar's kind
Oh
of
yeah.
flat. It's flat. It's a real interesting hybrid of, because it's really rooted in pocket, the guitar drumming. It's groove, but it's not all the same sound. Sometimes I'm playing it where I am kind of finger picking, you know,
Okay.
um, even though I'm holding it strange. So you hear it on the album, like Make the
Yeah.
Most or Grove. It's sort of sensitive and it's a tender sound. And then you listen to the first track, Move It, and it's just
Yeah.
aggressive
Yeah. That
and
is.
just going for it. And so I've really, like I said, the second natureness of it and my continuing to hone it and develop it, now within the context of a song, I'll be doing all those different things.
Oh,
There's parts
great.
of a song
Right.
where I'm playing very percussive and I'm attacking, and then maybe the bridge gets really sensitive and I'm going and it's just sort of finger picking or lightly strumming. And
Hmm.
so it's now that's been the thing that I've been really working on the last, I guess, like 5 years with the technique of guitar drumming is not having a song where it's just all this or a song where it's just all this. It's all of these techniques, all
Nice.
of these
Okay.
approaches to the guitar drumming, and finding moments with just like playing the piano. You're not going to play the piano with the same velocity and the same, throughout a song. There's going to be
Right.
parts where you're sensitive and now you're digging in. And then maybe you're playing octaves here. And then maybe here it's just like chords. Same thing with the
But
guitar drumming style. There's all these different techniques and approaches that I've developed, and just within the context of a song, what feels right in all the different parts, the verse, the chorus, how am I, and it makes it way more interesting to listen to, I think, than if it's just this one sound of me just slapping the shit out of a
yeah,
guitar.
that wouldn't be it. I don't think people would like that. They'd want to see you an actual show where you're doing different things with your hands
Yeah,
on the
and it's
guitar.
songs.
That's important,
Songs.
right?
We were
That's a big
it's
difference.
joyful singing along stuff. And when
I
you
mean,
leave, you're
right,
hearing some of my melodies in your head. That's the goal, you know?
exactly. I mean, you're just not going there and just banging on a guitar. You're actually playing songs, and that's what makes it
Exactly.
good.
Exactly.
So, what are you going to be playing next in the area here? What's coming
That's a good
up?
question. I'm doing Rising River Brewery, which is in
Okay,
Macungie, Pennsylvania. I think that's how you
okay,
pronounce it. Not too far from you. I'm
okay. Yeah, I'd
playing
like
that
to
with
see you guys play. I'd like to see you play
I'm playing
sometime.
that with my friend Van Gordon, a really good artist.
Okay.
And then I'm going down to Florida and I'm doing
Ah,
some solo
okay.
shows. It's a great place in Clearwater called the Wiley House. It's a listening room. And
Neat.
he's very supportive, a great musician. And then I'm playing the Rock by the Sea Festival at Okaloosa Island in
Wow. Yeah.
Florida. And then it's like, for me, it's been this juggling act of O.A.R. shows, Michael Paris shows, and other artists that I like working with, and trying to figure out how to make all those things work as far as scheduling stuff, you know?
Of course.
So from Florida, basically, I'm, 7 a.m. flight to California. The band plays a festival, Redondo Beach Festival in Redondo Beach, California, which I'm really excited about. This month is pretty crazy, April, with like O.A.R. shows, Michael Paris shows, and then like I said, I'm going on the road with Of Good Nature. We're doing some shows in like the DC area
Okay.
this weekend. And then yeah, it's just michaelparis.com/tour, and I'm kind of adding stuff uh, every week up there as far as solo stuff. I'll be doing Bourbon Street on the Beach the day before the Ocean Callings Festival in September.
Okay.
OAR is put together this festival with this incredible festival promoter, and this will be our third year. And last year I played like the Thursday before, and it was great. So things like that, where I'm trying to connect a solo show of mine when I'm going to be in a city with the band,
Okay.
because taking advantage of being on tour already, why not?
Yeah. What?
And
Yeah. You're
and
there.
and to force myself to be playing and playing and spreading my music and talking about my story, right? And talking about OAR and just how it's all this family of music, and we're all trying to just on different levels, right? Reach as many people as we can.
I'm so glad you came on. I mean, you've got a full slate of a lot of music, Michael.
It's
It's
ex
really fantastic.
it's exciting, man.
It
It's pretty
is.
exciting. Yeah.
And I'm glad you made it on the series here. And I'll try to catch you at a future show for sure.
Yeah, well, Jersey, just keep your eyes open
I
for
will.
OAR, and I'm trying to think of if there's an OAR show in Jersey, but I'm working on a Jersey show with my friend Paul Cartalius. He kind of lives, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half from where I am, in Queens, Long Island. And he lives in Jersey, so we're going to be
Okay.
putting together a show in Jersey somewhere, he and I, near that Basking Ridge area. Do you know Basking Ridge?
Okay.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think that
that's
maybe
nice.
that's a little
Oh, of course. It's a nice area.
north of you. Yeah. Um,
Okay.
in fact,
That's not far.
one of the tune tracks I filmed was at the Ross Farm in Basking Ridge. I think that was on my
Oh,
website.
okay.
I think that's one of the ones that was up there. Yeah. Um, so yeah, and then people can find it's just at Mike L Paris on all my streaming services and socials and all that stuff, and lots of music. I'm gonna be making some new merch soon, and again, I'm gonna have those music.
Oh, I see that. I like
Oh,
that.
thank you. It's my trekking tee.
You got a lot going.
It's my trekking
You got a
tee.
lot going on.
I'm
I
trying,
like
man.
that. Nice.
I'm trying, Dennis.
No, no, listen.
We
That's
we
what
are
you can do.
passionate. We are passionate about what we do, and we have to do it. That's
Right.
I have no
Right. Right.
choice.
It's in your nature there. You got to do it.
Exactly, exactly. And
And
it's a
the
roller coaster.
more you put out, the more people. All
Yeah,
right. Well, listen. Thanks for
it's
doing
trying to
this, and
leave some
I'll
sort
talk
of
to you later.
legacy, right? Thanks, Dennis.
You are. You're all ready. Take care now. Bye bye. See ya.